The Prime Minister was grilled in Westminster yesterday in the Liaison Committee over his controversial welfare reforms. Let's hear what Sir Keir Starmer had to say to questions.
But just some samples of what's come into my inbox. I am beyond stressed with anticipation of losing money. I have £700 to live on this month. Another one, the proposed cuts to disability benefits have left me feeling full of panic about the future and extremely let down. Prime Minister, what would you say to them?
Those people that do need support and protection should get support and protection. Those that want to bridge into work should be supported by the government to bridge into the work. At the moment, my own analysis is that pretty well all of the rules make it harder for people to get into work, not easier for them to get into work. But equally, those that can work should work, and we need to just apply those principles to the work that we are doing as we go along.
Well, charities like Help for Heroes are warning today that veterans could be among those who are hardest hit by any changes. Former RAF pilot Ian Hewitt is worried about changes to the Personal Independence Payments, PIP, which he relies on to maintain his independence. Ian's career was cut short when he ruptured a disc during a training exercise as a very young man back in 1999. And since being medically discharged, he's lived with paralysis, seizures and chronic pain. Ian, as you can see, joins us now alongside the actor and Help for Heroes patron Antony Cotton, who has been on this show so many times to talk about this rather than, you know, your acting life. This seems to be the thing that, you know, is such a passion for you.
It's my life's work.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Ian, so we've heard a little bit there about what caused your injury in the very first instance, which must have been in its own way totally devastating to you at 22.
Yeah, I mean, that's traumatic in its own.
Yeah. But you could never have anticipated, presumably, that many, many years later you're still suffering terribly from the repercussions of that initial...
Yes, that's it. And it's so many issues in terms of the damage to my spinal cord and my nervous system. Has led to so many issues in terms of sensory, general functions in my body. It affects every part of my body now.
Yeah.
That leaves me struggling in constant pain, relying on morphine every day, just to exist.
And these personal independence payments, for you particularly, what do they allow you to do?
They're exactly as they say in the title. You know, it's my independence. It's my ability to use a taxi to get to a hospital appointment, you know, and I have a lot of those. It's the ability to go into town, but obviously if I'm not so well, I can get a taxi home. And it's a 30-second journey, but I can't walk it. So I'm reliant on these other things to pay for. And people don't realise that actually being disabled is hugely expensive.
Of course.
You know, there's so many hidden costs. So that money, it might only be £20, £100, whatever, but to us is a massive amount of money.
When you hear the Prime Minister say, as we just did, that people with disabilities, on disability benefits, when he says those that can work should work, how do you feel about that?
I agree to some degree, but I think there is an issue where, certainly with veterans, where if you've been medically discharged, you're unfit for service, you're already struggling with mental or physical health injuries, you're waiting for years for your actual service pension, so you're reliant on these civilian benefits, and you fall through the cracks then because you're not able to work, you're waiting for mental health chances like Operation Courage and things like that to help you, and yet you're being then expected to work. And those two don't tie together, so we are falling through the cracks.
And we know that there are going to be 800,000 people like you who will not get personal independent payments anymore when the reassessment happens. Over 1,000 for every MP in the country in their constituency. So these are big numbers. You don't know at the moment whether when that assessment happens, that reassessment happens, whether you will keep your PIP or whether you'll be one of the 800,000. It's also the case that your wife is your carer.
She is,
carer's allowance. We also know 150,000 people are going to lose their carer's allowance. If you lost your personal independence payment, I don't know whether you think you might, she would then lose her carer's allowance. What's the impact together of those two things on your lives?
It's enormous. It's it's a huge detrimental effect on our lives in terms of not only financially, but the fact that she wouldn't then be able to care for me. She'd have to go and work more, which leaves me on my own all the time. And those instances then, when I'm having issues, you know, I can't cook for myself because of the issues with my hands and things.
And you're wearing those?
Yes,
I wasn't sure what
compression gloves, because I have
I don't know
issues
if we
with
can
my...
see them, just Dad.
So, yes, my blood sort of gets sent to my hands and feet. It's like the worst sunburn you can imagine.
But Anthony, the government says we've got to make tough choices. There's a financial black hole. We need to make savings for the economy and...
Let's make them from the most vulnerable in society. And that's what it looks like to me. I mean, nobody can talk about PIP and its effects better than you. But what my overriding thing is, whether it's serving community or whether it's our veteran community, we should just treat these people better. We're living in a world now where it's never been more uncertain what's going on in the world. We live in it seems to be very volatile and dangerous. We don't know what's around the corner. And our armed forces community are the backbone of our society. We should be treating them better. And that's not luxury, that's basics. That's like decent accommodation, decent food. And when they do transition from serving life into the veteran space, the word transition suggests that you just go from one thing to another. And yet, I know people... I've been doing, in both spaces, veteran spaces, and working for people like Help for Heroes and SAFA. I'm here today with my Help for Heroes hat on, but I've been working in that space and also in the currently serving community space for 15 years. And I have never met one person ever say to me, oh yeah, my compensation came through for my injury and my transition was perfect. I've never met one single serving member of our armed forces community that said, every single one was a fight. He's had a fight. It's lasted years. I know people that have fought for 9 years to get their pension sorted. And in that time, you're between a rock and a hard place. You can't work in one sense because then they'll say, well, you're working, so you don't get that. It's just this constant battle when you're home from war. And for me, it's about treating people with dignity and respect. And if we're expecting people to go and put their life on the line, and I know people that didn't come home, they made the ultimate sacrifice, and yet where is the money in the pot that's the same amount of money that's put into the war itself?
The government will say, I know they'll say, but Anthony, we don't want to kind of hurt disabled people who can't work, and we don't want to hurt our veterans. That's not what we intend to do. And
yet that's what's happening, you know? If there's... Listen, I'm not here to talk about the finances, but to me, it's kind of obvious. Let's tax non-doms. Let's get money from people that have got money. Oh, no, well, they'll bring less money into the big money pot. If you tax somebody that's already got loads of money, it doesn't affect them in any way, shape or form. If you tax somebody that's either an amputee or that's, in Ian's case, they already have very little. So... But it's the idea that, well, if they've already got very little, taking a little off them doesn't really make any difference. Well, let's do that with people that have got a lot. Let's get, you know, in the reality terms, if it's about vast sums of money, then let's talk about how you get vast sums of money. And you don't get vast sums of money by taking away benefits from the most vulnerable people in our society. It's as simple as that, because, you know, there's a problem with retention and recruitment in our armed forces. This is part of the problem, because any parents of, you know, young families and their son or daughter wants to join our armed forces and they're watching stuff like this, they're not going to go, oh yeah, sign up. This is, you know, what a life. They're going to go, oh, that's not enough. So it's not just this stuff. It's about the security of our country. It's about these are the people that keep us safe, and yet the greatest advert for a service personnel, for a member of our serving community, the greatest advert is somebody that leaves, transitions into civilian life and says, I would do it all again. And the more people we have that are struggling and potentially by next year are going to have more and more taken away from them, that's the worst advert you can have for our armed forces.
Do you wish you'd never joined the RAF?
Absolutely not, no. I mean, I loved my time in the service and I would do it again. But if I could take away the issues with Veterans UK and the problems that I've fought for 9 years through court cases, things like that, to get my pension, if I could take all that away, then of course I'd serve. I would jump at the chance to serve.
You've got 4 children.
I've got 4 children.
Would you encourage them to join?
My son wants to be a pilot.
Right.
Does he?
Yes, he's an air cadet now.
To be like his dad?
Hopefully not too much like his dad, but I hope, yes, absolutely. And I would encourage them. But we need to fix these issues. We need to stop taking away from veterans and from anyone who requires them.
And tell us how important Help for Heroes and Veterans
And
UK
what
have been for
Anthony,
you.
Yes, I mean, Help for Heroes have helped me across the board. They've helped me. The Veterans Mobility Fund have given me a new mobility scooter. I've done sleep courses to help me improve my sleep because my sleep is all over the place because of chronic pain. Yeah. I've had recovery college with them to help with all sorts of aspects of my life of just managing the day-to-day aspects of things that that as normal, healthy people, you wouldn't
And that's
even
where you
think
expect
about.
the welfare state to be there, to look
Exactly.
after your welfare.
Absolutely.
I have to say that
Okay.
this government have been very responsive, and as far as our armed forces are concerned,
Well.
I wrote to every single defence secretary for 15 years, and not one ever responded to me. Not once. Never even responded to an email until John Healey came in.
Well, there you go.
I have to say
That's
that.
at least something
we need
positive.
John Healey
Yeah.
to have a word with his colleagues in the cabinet.
Well, should we
and
say what the government has said about this? We've got a little statement here. The government spokesperson said that we are deeply proud of our veterans for the contribution they make to our country. The social security system will always be there for those with severe health conditions and support people who can work to do so while protecting those who cannot.
The devil is in the detail.
Yes.
And they need to get the detail of that right.
Absolutely
That's
right.
what they've got to do. Thank you so much
Thanks
for coming.
both.
Anthony.
Yeah, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.